Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you've become. But here's the truth, Mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama strategy session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama strategy session. Do you get triggered by your child's anger? Does it frustrate you or even feel unsafe when your child is experiencing an anger episode, when they are getting aggressive? Does that make you want to be aggressive back to them? Does that trigger you massively? It actually triggers me, and that is why I invited my friend Hilary to the podcast. She is a psychologist and a mom of 3. She's also a podcast host of Raised Resilient Podcast, a parenting podcast. She's a parenting specialist. I've had her on my podcast before, episode 32. I will link it in the show notes. You should go listen to it. That was a while back, and we talked all about children's meltdowns. But today we're going to narrow down specifically on anger, our child's anger, and why is it so triggering for us? Why is it so hard for us to remain calm and collected and not get pulled into that emotion? And what can we do to help ourselves and help our own children in moments like that? So if this is something you resonate with, tune in. You will find this episode super, super helpful because it's very practical and actionable, something you can take action on today. Before we jump into the episode, I want to remind you that tonight, yes, tonight, I am inviting you to a podcast meetup. It's completely free. Anyone who listens to this podcast is invited. You get to ask me questions. I get to know you a little bit better. It's going to be so fun. Ask your husband to put the kids to bed earlier tonight. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You are invited, my friend, and I want to see your face and connect with you. The link is in the show notes to sign up. Let's dive into the interview. Hi, Hilary. I am so excited for us to chat today. We're going to be talking about how to remain regulated and calm when our child is experiencing anger and even like ragey anger with, physical aggression, because that is something that really hits home for me. So before we get started, I wanted to ask you an icebreaker question. What is something you've been loving lately?
Well, first of all, Elizabeth, thank you so much for having me again. I'm so excited to be here with you. And yes, this topic, can't wait to talk about this with you. So, something I've been loving lately, this might sound, well, two things actually. One of them's a little out there, but you know, um, I've been using an infrared sauna blanket. It's like a sleeping
Mm.
bag, but it's an infrared sauna blanket, and I lay in it and I get sweaty. And it's like really wonderful self care. I listen to an audiobook and I feel so good after I do it because, like, I don't have a gym membership and I don't have time to go to the gym, even if I did. And I don't have the money to like build a proper sauna in my house. So this is just perfect. And it's like a really nice little self care thing. And the other thing I've been loving lately is pistachio syrup in my coffee. It's just like a nice little touch.
I have never heard of pistachio syrup. This is new for me. I'll have to check it out.
It's so good. You can get it on Amazon. My husband brought home something from Starbucks with pistachio in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So we made it at
Mm,
home.
I will have to try that. I am so excited to talk to you today about anger because this is such a big topic, and the audience that follows me right now are the ones that struggle with it themselves. And before we get into it, I want you to tell me a little bit about your family because you also have a podcast, you also have kiddos, and you are a mom of young ones. So you are living this as well. You're not like 20 years down the road when your kids are all grown. You're walking in the midst of this with us. So tell me a little bit about your family and about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's part of what I try to bring to the parenting work that I do is that I am in the trenches with you. And all of the things that I suggest people do, I do some of the time, but none of us are perfect. And so I think I try to bring that energy of this is what we should do, but also here's why it's really hard sometimes. Here's what gets in the way for us, right? And so I hope that feels more supportive and accessible than maybe someone who's coming in and saying, well, this is what you should do. And you should just do it, period. So, yeah, I have an 8.5-year-old who's in third grade, a 5, almost 6-year old. I can't believe he's going to be 6. He's in kindergarten. And then my daughter just turned 2 in February. So we're kind of all over the map, but we're still kind of in that little kid, young child phase of life. And although I would say with my 8.5-year old, like we're getting into that phase of like, we're not quite preteen, but like we're definitely having those moments. So I get glimpses of what that's going to be like for sure. So yeah, I am a licensed psychologist as well, but I think that's one of the things that I really want people to know is that even though I am a licensed psychologist, I was a child therapist for like over a decade. I've worked with parents for now over a decade doing parent support and then perinatal mental health therapy, but I still don't get it right all the time. And we never will, and we have to have that compassion for ourselves, that grace, and I think that's really really important. That's what I try to bring to my podcast, which is called Raised Resilient with Dr. Hilary. And this podcast is my whole goal is to help you parent in a way that feels good for you and for your child. So this is not a podcast where you're going to hear about all the right things to do for your child. This podcast cares about, well, I care. And in this podcast, I care about you too. So I think that's really, really important to know. And I try to keep my episodes, 25 minutes or less because we're all busy parents.
Yes, and I love your podcast because you teach a lot of proactive things and in the heat of the moment, how to handle things. And I've listened to a lot of your episodes and I've gotten so much value out of it. So if you are a parent and you have a lot of parenting questions, Hilary's podcast is amazing. You should check it out. I will link it in the show notes.
Oh,
So
thank you so much.
yes, you're welcome. So you're here to talk about how our children's anger will trigger our anger as a parent. So specifically, I want to touch on like hitting, throwing, or like screaming like from our children. So I have gotten pretty good with like handling my own anger when it comes to just me on my own with just my own things that I'm dealing with. But it's like a whole nother level when you have a child who's experiencing not just like, oh, meltdown, I'm upset, I'm disappointed. I'm talking about like rage where they are hitting their sibling. You're trying to stop it, then they're attacking and hurt, like physically hitting you, or pinching you or whatever. Like that's like a whole nother level, I feel, of hard. And that is actually, honestly, I have one of my kiddos struggles with that. And that gets so tricky for me. I can contain my cool for a little while, but there are moments where I get sucked in and I lose my cool because I feel it's so threatening to me. And I honestly, it just like, it gets to a point sometimes where like I have to physically just walk away because, or like hold the door for him not to attack me because I feel so threatened and it feels scary to me and I start feeling out of control. So, can we like talk about what's going on for our kids and what's going on for us in that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say you're not alone when it comes to being so triggered by your child's anger and aggression. I think that's really, really, really common. I know that's something that I have struggled with as well, and so many of the parents that I work with too. So there's two main things that are happening for us when we are triggered by our child's anger. So the first one is that for so many of us, when we were kids and we felt angry, we were not allowed to really to feel that anger. We didn't have parents who said, well, it's okay to feel that way. I get it. You're so mad, but I'm going to help you stop hitting. No, we had parents who sent us to timeout or spanked us or did whatever they needed to do to shut down the behavior that was coming from the angry feeling. And here's the thing we need to understand about kids. Kids are not born being able to regulate their emotions. And regulating emotions just means doing the right things with our feelings. So our kids are going to do the wrong things with their feelings unless we help them. That's just how their immature, still developing brains work. But when we were kids and we had those same immature, still developing brains and we felt angry, which is a normal part of life, it's normal to feel anger. And I know that's something you talk about a lot on this podcast. But when we felt that as kids, we were met with punishments for the most part. And this was not because our parents didn't care. This is what they thought was best. This is what they were taught to do. This is what was good parenting at the time, the 80s and the 90s. And so we were sent away, punished when we felt that. So it's not that we learned, oh, well, it's not okay to hit. It's not okay to get aggressive. What we learned was when I feel like this, something about me is bad. It is repulsive to my parent because my parent literally sends me away. My parent hits me. My parent wants to make me feel pain in this moment. So what we did was not, oh, okay, let me think of healthy ways to deal with my anger. What we did was to shut down the part of ourself, repress the part of ourself that felt angry. We learned very, very young for most of us that anger was not safe. And so we learned to push it away. Every time we would feel angry, we would learn to push it away. We would white knuckle through that moment so we wouldn't get in trouble. And as we've become adults, maybe we've learned some different ways to avoid our anger. Like some of us binge watching TV or binge eating or substance use, or, we don't know how to deal with our anger. So we still struggle with rage to this day because we never had someone help us regulate our anger. So now as a parent, you learned anger wasn't safe at a very young age, but your child is over here expressing it. And you're being told by all the parenting experts that you've got to hold space for that. You got to let your kid be mad. And we do have to let our kids feel angry. That is the right thing to do. But our body registers their anger as a threat. because we learned that it wasn't safe. So your child is angry, your child is hitting, your child is saying unkind things. You are going to feel like alarm bells are going off in your body. That young child part of you, that part of you that's 2, 3, 5, 8, is inside of you screaming, this is not safe. Make it stop. Shut it down. We are not safe. And so literally the way that manifests is that your nervous system goes into fight or flight. And so you don't feel like your regulated adult self helping a child. You suddenly feel like a lion. You got to get the heck out. Right. And that's
Well, it
probably where,
actually does feel, it is actually unsafe, right? With them hitting and throwing. And like the other day, my son, he took a mason jar and he was so mad. And he literally just smashed it on the floor all over the room. And like, and it was a split second. And I wasn't even there. I come in and it's all over the room. And obviously, I will have to clean it up. So it is at times really unsafe, you know? So, like,
yeah,
some of it is a perceived threat, right? But some of it is actually he's physically hurting his sibling, he's physically hurting me.
yes,
And it's unsafe.
yes. And so that brings me to my second point, which is that part that you just said, just straight up, your kid is hitting you. Now, if you've got a 3-year-old, that's not really unsafe. It might feel unsafe to you for the reason I just said, but also for the fact that if you had a caregiver who ever got angry or big and scary, who hit you, who got aggressive, even in their tone, your child might trigger that same feeling in your body that you had as a child when your parent got big and scary. And so that can also impact how we see our kids in those moments. So if you were a child who had a parent yell at you or spank you or just get angry and not know how to regulate their emotions, which, let's be honest, was a lot of us because our parents didn't have someone teaching them how to regulate their emotions. And so when our kids are angry, your little 3-year-old can look like a big threat. But then to your point, Elizabeth, as our kids get older, it can actually be unsafe. And so the thing we need to understand about those moments with our kids is that kids do not want to hurt us. They do not want to destroy things. They do not want to cause harm. And in fact, our kids are wired to be in our good graces. Our kids want to please us. Now, if you're listening and you have a kid who feels really aggressive in moments or who says mean things, you might feel like, no, he doesn't care. I promise you. Underneath that big angry facade, your child does care. But those angry feelings are overwhelming to them in that moment. And so I want you to start to think about these aggressive behaviors, whether it's hitting, whether it's throwing something and breaking it, whether it's unkind words. I hate you. You're the worst mommy ever. I want you to think of those as just the way that your child's anger is flying out of their body. It's not a premeditated, let me attack with this, right? It's just how the feelings are flying out of them. And I like that image of flying out of them because really it's that messy, right? It's that much, it's a lack of control. It's a lack of being able to do something to get their own nervous system out of fight or flight.
Because when I talk to my son about it outside of the moment, he's like, I feel I can't control it. I can't stop myself. I feel so out of control. And when I talk to mamas too, I'm like, there's so many episodes I have on mom rage. And like mom rage is the flip side of helplessness. You feel so out of control.
Yes.
And like, that's why you say and do things you regret later because the part of your brain that helps you stay in control is completely offline.
Yep, 100%.
Hey friend, so you want to be more patient with your kids, but you feel like it's so hard and you wake up reacting to your days. So much frustration on a daily basis. Listen. My Emotionally Healthy Mom course will teach you how to get to the root of your stress, how to control your controllable stressors. I will teach you how to prioritize your needs without guilt. I will show you how to calm your nervous system and communicate your emotions and needs in a healthy way. Let's make motherhood a place you enjoy living in and set a positive example for your kids and not a place of survival and dread. So come into Emotionally Healthy Mom course so I can show you how to ditch the overwhelm, burnout, and stress so you can become a patient and calm mama for your children. The link is in the show notes to sign up. Use discount code MOM50 to get 50% off the course. Sale ends on Mother's Day. This year, gift your kids a mom who is a peaceful presence in her home.
And that's the thing. When we look at our kids as if they are a threat, it is terrifying to them because what our kids need, I want you to imagine your angry child, your angry, aggressive child as a little tornado. Okay. Your child's biggest fear is being allowed to destroy everything in sight. Your child needs to know that you, as the bigger, stronger, wiser, kind adult, that's a quote from Circle of Security Parenting, but as the bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind adult, that you can metaphorically put your arms around that tornado and say, I got you, kid. Whatever you're bringing, I can contain it. I'm not going to let you destroy your room. I'm not going to let you hurt your sibling. Not going to let you hurt me or yourself. I'm going to keep us safe. And it's that energy. It's that calm, confident energy that is really hard to access when we feel threatened. And so that's where the work really is sort of outside of the moment, starting to work on seeing your child as someone who's desperately in need of your help in that moment, not as your adversary. And I know that's hard. But I try to keep that in mind, this idea that my kid needs me to hold on to their goodness, even when they're telling me that I'm the worst mother ever, even when they're swinging at their sibling or destroying a room. They need me to hold on to their goodness, because if I lose sight of it, they lose sight of it. And that's when they lose the ability to care whether they destroy the room. And it's not that they don't care, right? They always care. But it's like if we start to see them as bad and dangerous, they're going to take that on. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And I'm glad that you touched on the mindset shift, like that our child is a good kid who's struggling in that moment. So speaking of mindset shifts, what is something, if we can maybe practice ahead of time, but even in the heat of the moment, to remind ourselves, like maybe a mantra or a statement to help us stay more regulated? Because right, our mind wants to tell us all the negative things, and our mind is what pushes us more into frustration and anger and rage, and our mind is that powerful that can help us calm down. So what is something we can remind ourselves as parents in the heat of the moment to help us stay regulated?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And my favorite quote of all time is from Dr. Ross Greene. He wrote the book, The Explosive Child. It's an excellent book if you're up for reading a book about dealing with these behaviors. But the quote is that kids do well when they can. And that goes back to what I was saying about how our kids are wired to please us. They know that they depend on us. Even our teenagers need us for survival. Like they are not ready to go live on their own. And if we ever got so frustrated, so fed up with them that we said, forget you, kid, I'm done, and left them on their own, they wouldn't survive. Our kids' bodies know that on like a biological level. So they're wired to please us. They're wired to stay close to us, to stay connected to us. So if your kid is doing something that is dangerous or infuriating or so difficult to manage, that's a child who can't do better in that moment. That's a child who wishes that they had a better way, but they're not able to access it. Maybe sometimes they can. And this is what I hear from parents a lot. Well, yeah, but he does fine when he wants to. Well, let's reframe that. He does fine when he has the resources, the capacity, he's had enough sleep, he's not so stressed, he's not so overwhelmed that he can't. So kids do well when they can. And this is one that my partner and I, we will literally whisper to each other sometimes when our kids are struggling, when we're having a hard time starting to get angry. But if you can just look at your child and you see that they're hitting their sibling or doing something that you're just like, oh my goodness, like, why are you doing this? This is awful. You're being so destructive. That's a child who cannot do better in this moment for however many reasons, right? This child cannot do better in this moment. They need your help. Kids do well when they can. For me, that's been a game changer to really use in and out of the moment.
Yeah, that is a really great mantra. And I think another one that I think it's you. I have a good kid who's having a hard time.
Yes.
That
yes,
is
that's another
another
great
one. I use that one a lot. Like when I see my son is struggling and he's reacting, and it seems like he's making a bigger deal over something that is not a big deal. And I have that going on repeat in my head. And
Mhm.
that really helps me stay regulated and see it from a lens of compassion instead of a lens of threat and frustration. Um,
Yes.
you touched a little bit on what to do in the heat of the moment. Like it's a little tornado. Walk us through like what to say or not to say, right? We obviously need to, let's say my 8-year-old got in a frustrated situation with his brother. His brother is doing something that's annoying him, and he started to physically hurt him. He
Mhm.
started to physically punch him. And I see that. I come in and like I pull him back. What are my next steps?
Yeah, this is such a great question. So you, as a parent, your job is to keep your child, and if you have multiple children, keep your children and yourself safe. Like that's your job in that moment. I want you to let go of everything except for that in that moment. Okay. You do not, well, you have to do two things. Okay. You have to keep your kids safe and you have to let them express their feeling. You're going to figure out how to do that in a healthy way. I like to think of it as if we're their gutter guards. They're going bowling and we're the gutter guards, right? Like we're going to keep that behavior within the bounds of what's appropriate and safe, but we are going to let them feel their feeling. Kids will never get better at regulating their anger if we don't let them feel angry. So we need to allow them to feel the feeling while helping them do it safely. I want you to let go of any pressure to teach lessons. I want you to let go of any lecturing or any, I have to make sure he knows that this isn't okay. Like, let it go. That is not our job in that moment. In the heat of the moment, your first job is to keep everyone safe. And then, secondary to that, is to let the feeling be. You don't need to make your kid feel calm. That's not your job. You don't need to get the anger to go away. We want the anger, welcome the anger, but the anger's got to be expressed safely. And so, you've got your 8-year-old hitting their sibling. You do need to stop that, right? And I like to tell parents, we're not doing the 5-point restraints that I did in residential treatment. And I did come into parenting thinking that, oh, well, maybe I'll just do this with my kids. And it didn't work quite the way that it did when I was in an institutionalized setting. And that shouldn't be a surprise. But, I was like, well, maybe I should try this. With my own kids, I have found that the least restrictive way of intervening is the best. And I do have a whole podcast episode on specifically like in the moment dealing with aggressive behavior. So that's one that people can check out if they want to. I forget, I think it's like number 11, one of my early episodes. But, our job in that moment is to stop that unsafe behavior. But we're going to do the least thing necessary in order to do that. So if you've got a toddler who's hitting you, you might just grab their wrist. I can't let you hit. I see that you're so mad. It's okay to be mad. I'm going to help you stop hitting, right? If you've got a 5-year-old who's coming at you, you can just step back. I do that with my 5-year-old all the time. Say, I see that you're so mad. I can't let you hit. With siblings, we want to separate them. And to the one who's getting hurt, right? If it's an ongoing scuffle, see if you can get that child to go somewhere safe. Can you go wait over here while I help your brother, right? Usually, one child is willing to do that. They might both be able to do that, but usually at least one is going to be able to step aside for a minute. And you can make it clear that, you're not in trouble. I just want to help your sibling right now. And then sometimes, and I've had to do this with my 8-year-old, like sometimes I've had to physically pick him up and take him up to his room. And I don't dump him there and say, stay here and think about what you did. No, it's not like that. It's, I'm going to help you. We're going to go somewhere less stimulating. We're going to go sit and we're just going to let you feel your feelings and I'll be there to help you. And sometimes he's so mad, he's like, go away. And I tell him, I will go away and give you some space as soon as I know you're safe. And usually he'll calm down begrudgingly enough, right? He's still mad, but enough to like fiddle with Legos, right? And then I'll walk out. I will not, no matter what my child tells me, go away. I hate you. Get out of here. I'm not leaving a child who's actively destroying the room or hurting himself. I'm not doing that. That's not okay. And we need to stay, even though we want to honor their request for space. I can give you space when I can give you space when you are sitting on the floor, not hitting me. I can give you space when you stop kicking. I can give you space when you stop tearing things off of your wall, whatever it is, right? So you
Mhm.
want to make sure that you don't walk out just because they say go away. You want to make sure that they are actually safe. But if they want space at that point, my 8-year-old, he's like that. He wants space to calm down. That's totally fine. But you've got to get that unsafe behavior to stop. And I think as parents, that can feel really scary. Well, how do I do that? How do I get that to stop? He's getting bigger. She's getting bigger. I hear you. But for the most part, we are still bigger and stronger than our kids. And what we're lacking in that moment is usually not physical strength. It's confidence. And it's a feeling of safety and embodiment in our own bodies because we are in fight or flight and we feel like we need to leave to keep ourselves safe. That comes across to our kids. Again, remember the tornado. If your kid fears that you are over here going, oh my goodness, the tornado is going to destroy me, your child's going to feel that. So the work we have to do outside of the moment is to really start to understand behavior, to start to understand that you do have a good kid having a really hard time in that moment. Your kid's not giving you a hard time. You don't have a bad, dangerous, aggressive, awful kid. You have a good kid who is struggling. And when you start to see it that way, you're going to feel empowered to show up as I got you energy instead of, oh my gosh, what's happening energy. It's an energetic shift a lot of the time that makes all the difference.
It is so much harder in the heat of the moment. And I also want to say it takes a lot of practice. This is not one of those things that you hear one time and you're going to remember to do it in the moment. Actually, I would encourage you to go back, listen to this episode, write down some of the things that Hilary said, and look over those statements that you can say to your child in that moment when they are acting like that. And even I would say even have a conversation with them outside of the, moment and be like, hey,
Yes.
and this is what's been happening lately, what is it like for you when you're experiencing anger? Because my son told me, he's like, I can't control it. I can't stop myself. And I would say my job as a mom is to keep you safe. So I'm going to be there to keep you safe, to help you not destroy things. I guess my question is sometimes my son wants to hurt me. And I'm 4'11". I'm not really tall. And so, yes, if he's kicking on the floor, I can walk away. But if he is attacking me, he's going right at me and trying to hit me with his hands. I know sometimes that I would be like, you can push into my hands as hard as you can. But he wants to kick me and hurt me. What would you say in a moment like that? What do you do then? Because you don't want to leave him because then he feels so out of control and he'll destroy something else, but then he's attacking you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really tough moment. I will often hold on to my child's wrist, right? And I will physically stop that punch. I've had to stop an actual punch from my 8-year-old before. And I will hold his wrist and I will say, I know you are so mad. I know you feel like hurting right now. I can't let you. I won't let you. And I shore up all the confidence I've got in that moment, right? Because it's hard. I know it's hard. I know I've had the thought okay, you're getting older. What am I going to do? But here's the truth of it is I've been responding to him in this way since he was, I don't know, 2, when he started hitting. I can't let you hit me. I know that you're so mad. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to help you stop. And, I won't say I've done it perfectly. It took a while for my partner to start to do it this way. We all parent the way that we were parented unless we actively seek change, because that's what we know. And so at first, my partner was responding with, we don't hit, hitting's not okay, right? This very stop hitting. How could you do that to me? This very disempowered stance, right? That you're doing to me and I can't make you stop. No, we have to set a boundary, and a boundary is not, please stop hitting. That's a request. A boundary is, I'm going to help you stop. So it took a while for my partner and I both to kind of do this consistently. But I will say that over time, the aggressive behaviors have definitely decreased. Now, we still see them, but I will say that if I were to plot out how many times we saw them, right, it would peak at toddlerhood, preschoolhood, and it has slowly declined, right? So that's not to say that he doesn't still get to that point. But I guess what I want you to hear, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awful. I can't do this. You don't have to do this forever. This is for now, not forever. Do not go down the parenting rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, he's almost bigger than me now. What about next year? Don't worry about next year. The more you show up for the kid who's in front of you right now in a calm, confident, I got you. I'm not going to let you hit. I'm going to help you stop. with that energy, the less over time you will see the aggressive behaviors. I promise. Your child's brain is going to continue to develop. Your child is going to develop some emotion regulation. But Elizabeth, you mentioned something that is so, so, so key. We have to be working on this outside the moment. So before, when I said in the heat of the moment, I want you to stop worrying about teaching. I want you to stop worrying about developing skills. In the heat of the moment is not the time to do that. But we do have to do that. So yes, 100% you need to be talking to your child outside of the heat of the moment. And it's not a lecture. It's not, I can't believe you hit your brother. Shame on you. You should know better. Like, that energy is only going to create defensiveness. Think about for yourself. If someone comes to you and is like, what did you do at work? You made this mistake. What's wrong with you? You should know better. Like, you're going to shut down. If your partner comes to you and says, why didn't you empty the dishwasher? You said you would. Like, what the heck? You're going to shut down. But if your partner comes to you and says, hey, you said you were going to empty the dishwasher. It didn't happen. Just wondering what's going on. Or do you have a plan to do it? You're going to be like, oh, okay. Yeah, I did say that. I'm sorry. When do we actually feel safe enough to apologize? When do we feel safe enough to reflect? It's not when we are sitting in our shame and feeling like we are somehow bad. You've got to help your child stay connected to their goodness while you are working on these skills, right? You've got to have, even to say to your child, like, I know you're a good kid who was really having a tough time. You're always a good kid. I say that to my kids. With my 8-year-old, he will literally sometimes quote back to me in my moments as a mom where I'm not handling my feelings the right way. He will say to me, Mom, kids do well when they can, right? Like, I know I'm annoying you, but like, kids do well when they can. Like, he will say that back to me. And I'm like, so humbled in those moments. Yep, you are right. Kids sure do. And that's a cue for me to take a deep breath and get back on track. But I say that to him, right? After he's had a really rough moment and he's really struggling with aggressive behaviors, I can say to him, I know kids do well when they can. So you must have been really feeling some big feelings to do that. And I get it. And it's okay. We're going to work through it. We're going to get through this together, right? So it's that collaborative energy. And then asking your child, what was that like for you? Like you did with your son. And he says, I can't control myself. And then validate, like, that must be so hard. I feel like that sometimes too. When I get really mad, maybe you've said something to your child you didn't mean. You can say, that time I said blah, blah, blah. I was feeling that. I felt out of control. I said something to you that I didn't mean. I really regret that. I know how you feel. This is hard. So let's talk about next time when you're starting to feel, right? And so you want to build that awareness of like, what happens in our bodies as we're starting to get angry? What are our signs to ourselves that this is going to happen, that we're going to get to this place? What can we do ahead of time? And so now, not perfectly, right? But more and more over time, I will see both my older kids taking breaks before they get to that point. Sometimes in the middle of dinner, right? It's not convenient, but my 5-year-old will go sit and take a break on the front porch and he'll come in when he's a little more regulated. That kind of stuff is great. And you as the parent, if you can stay attuned to your child and start to notice their signs, you can proactively, and I do this all the time, and they don't ever want to go in that moment, but I will say, hey, I'm noticing some of the things we talked about. Let's go upstairs. I don't want to go upstairs. I'm like, I hear you. I know. Come on, you're not in trouble. This is going to be good. I know you don't want to go, but once we get up there, you're going to feel better. And like they do every time. So another thing that can be great if your child struggles to access words in those moments is a signal. I have a signal with both of my kids that means, hey, I'm starting to notice, right, that things are a little off. And they have a signal they can share with me that means, hey, I need you, right? And so they don't have to say a word. And we can just know, okay, it's time to go talk.
That is so great. I'm so glad you mentioned that because one of my kids has a really hard time coming up with words when he's struggling. And it's the same one we mentioned before. He struggles a lot with his big emotions and big feelings. And it's really hard for him to come up with words in the heat of the moment. So I really like that tip. I remember hearing that, you mentioning it on your podcast, which is Raised Resilient. If you're listening this far, I would really encourage you to go and follow that show because you will find lots of helpful support on there. This was so great, Hilary. Thank you so much for your wisdom and just your experience and just giving us so many hopeful tips on how to handle it and the mindset shifts. What is one thing you want the mama who's listening to this to walk away with today?
I would say you've got this. Okay, you are the exact right parent for your child, and you have the child or children you were meant to have. Okay, you are capable of handling this. I know it might feel so out of control right now. I've worked with so many parents who are where you are right now. If it feels like that, if you feel like the aggressive behaviors are just ruling your home, I've worked with so many parents. So many parents who called me when I was a child therapist and said, please fix this. This is problematic. But the actual work that needed to happen wasn't just in the child, it was in the parent child relationship. And when we did that work, the change that they saw was more change than they could have ever imagined. I would hear things like, I have a different kid. I never would have thought we'd be where we are right now, right? This is workable and it's for now, not for forever. Parent the kid who's in front of you right now and trust that you can do this because you can. You absolutely can. And I will say too, if this is something that you feel like you do need more support on, I do offer parent coaching. So that's something I'd be happy to support you through. RaisedResilient.com. You can check out my offerings there. I also have a free guide called 6 Mindset Shifts to Ditch the Overwhelm and Parent in a Way That Feels Good. So if you are looking for mindset shifts that will help you outside the heat of the moment, get your head in the right place to connect with your child and to see the good kid through the tough behaviors, this is your guide. I go into detail on all the mindset shifts, but there's also like this 1-page printable that you can just carry with you or save on your phone for those moments when you really need to just be reminded of these things. So you can get that at raisedresilient.com/mindset. But I would just say, you can do this. You can do this. I end every podcast episode by saying, until next time, we've got this. Because we do. We can do this. We are capable. We can hold space for these big emotions. We can connect with our kids in these hard moments. We have to believe that first. So if you need to hear that, I will say it to you. You can do this.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Dr. Hilary and took some helpful tips and suggestions that she offered. I want to remind you again that I'm holding a podcast meetup tonight and I would love to see you. The link is in the show notes to sign up. It's completely free. I would love to meet you and see your face, and you can ask me any questions that you like. Also, it's Mother's Day this weekend, so happy early Mother's Day, my friend. And if you did not get my Emotionally Healthy Mom course, this is a perfect Mother's Day gift. It is only $50 right now. And this is probably the last time I'm going to have it this low because I will be making a ton of upgrades in the course moving forward. And so the price is going to go up. You also have an option to add on Voxer coaching for 8 weeks to keep you accountable and to help you implement and answer any more questions. That's an add-on that you can add when you purchase the course if you'd like to. My friend, until next time, I want to remind you that you are the best mama for your kids, and you were chosen out of all the women in the world by God to be your children's mom. You're meant to do this. Hey mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.